If she's friend-zoned you, it's not because you're not good enough. It's because you've made yourself too easy to figure out. The moment you stop chasing her and start owning your presence, everything changes. She won't just see you differently. She'll start wanting you in ways she never expected. You see, the biggest mistake most men make when they're friend-zoned is they start chasing harder. They call more. They do more, they offer more, they try to prove they're worth it, but what they don't realize is that every extra effort from that place of desperation is pushing her further away. Women don't respond to pressure. They respond to presence. Let me say it straight. If she's friend-zoned you, it's not because you're not good looking or not man enough. It's because the chemistry is missing, and in her eyes, you've become too safe, too soft. Too available. There's no tension, no thrill, no mystery, and that's what turns her off. But here's where everything flips. Here's the one move that shifts you from just a friend to the man who suddenly has her full attention. You stop waiting. You stop giving her boyfriend energy when she's giving you friend zone energy, and you start treating her like she's not the prize. You are. You see, the moment a man reclaims his energy, the moment he pulls back, not in anger, not in revenge, but in power, in self-respect. She feels it, she notices the silence, the absence, the shift, and suddenly the attention she once took for granted starts to mean something. It's like this: when you stop orbiting her world, she starts spinning in yours. Because real attraction isn't built through proving your loyalty. It's built through polarity, masculine confidence, emotional detachment, and that's the one move. Pull your energy back, not to punish her, but to elevate yourself. Start flirting with life, with new women, with your goals, with your peace. She'll see it. She'll sense that change, that masculine calm, that quiet, I don't need you to choose me kind of energy. And nothing turns a woman on more than a man who doesn't beg for her time, but commands his own. And here's the twist. When she sees that shift, the game changes. You're no longer the safe bet. You're no longer the emotional pillow. You become the storm, the question mark, the one who's not always available. And women are drawn to that unpredictability. It's not about being mean. It's about being magnetic. You create the tension, you let her wonder, you let her miss you. That's how desire is born, not from constant presence, but from strategic absence. She won't say it out loud, but when you pull back with power, when you treat her like someone you once had time for, but don't anymore, you flip the dynamic. Now she's chasing you, now she's wondering who's got your attention. Now, the thought of you with someone else stings in places she didn't know could feel, because you're no longer the man she put in the friend zone. You've become the man she can't stop thinking about. You see, the biggest mistake most men make when they're friend-zoned is they immediately switch into fix-it mode. They try harder. They become more available. They start offering her rides, emotional support, compliments, help, time, energy, thinking that if they can just be the nicest, most reliable, most supportive guy she knows, eventually she'll open her eyes and choose him. But women don't fall for the man who's always there. They fall for the man who makes them feel something, something unpredictable, something electric. And when you're stuck in the friend zone, it means you've already become too predictable, too safe, too emotionally accessible. There's no tension, no sexual polarity. You've become the brother she likes talking to, but never thinks of kissing. That's the reality. The more you try to prove your boyfriend material from the friend zone, the more she boxes you into it. That's why your energy has to shift, because the one move that changes everything is when you pull your energy back, not as punishment, but as power. That move alone flips the dynamic. Suddenly, you're not orbiting her. She's wondering why your orbit disappeared. She's wondering where your attention went. The calls slow down, the texts stop, The free therapy sessions end. You no longer drop everything to help. You don't remind her how amazing she is. You start reminding yourself how amazing you are, and she feels that. She doesn't hear it from you. She senses it in your silence. That's when the mystery creeps in. That's when curiosity awakens, because women don't desire men who beg. They desire men who lead, men who own their attention, men who don't give boyfriend energy to someone treating them like an option. That contrast, that masculine stillness, is the seed of attraction. And when she realizes you're no longer emotionally available to her, but still standing in your full power, still looking good, still moving through life with purpose and confidence, she begins to question everything. It's not even about dating someone else. It's about radiating that energy that says, I'm not waiting. That's what triggers a shift. It makes her reevaluate you, not because you begged her to, but because you became the man who stopped needing her to choose you. And that space you created, it becomes the breeding ground for new desire. Now she's thinking about you. Now she's noticing your absence. Now she's wondering who you've been spending time with, and that emotional tension, the one thing that didn't exist before, starts to build. This is how you go from the guy she vents to the guy she wants to impress, because you changed the game. You stopped giving her the comfort of your constant presence. You stopped offering your emotional support like it was free candy. You raised your value, and when you do that, something inside her shifts. She might not even understand it, but the dynamic changes. Suddenly, she's checking your story. She's liking your posts. She's asking how you've been. Because that one move, pulling back with confidence, does what words, effort, and time never could. It creates tension, and tension is the birthplace of desire. Now she has to earn your attention. Now she has to wonder if she ever had a real shot with you. And in that wondering, in that missing, in that shift of energy, you stop being her friend. You start being the man who makes her feel, the one she can't quite figure out anymore, the one she never saw coming back into focus with a whole different kind of power. Not needy, not desperate, just intentional, present, confident, and hard to ignore when a woman friend-zones you. It's not always because she doesn't like you. It's often because she doesn't feel you. She doesn't feel that spark, that masculine presence, that subtle but powerful dominance that tells her she's in the presence of a man who knows who he is. And what a lot of men do wrong in that moment is they shrink. They start playing it safe. They smile more. They compliment more. They say yes when they want to say no. They listen without leading. They become passive in the hope that one day she'll suddenly realize what a nice guy he's been all along. But that's not how attraction works. Women don't respond to nice. They respond to energy. They respond to the man who takes up space without apology, who doesn't compete for attention, but commands it effortlessly. And here's the twist. It's not about what you say. It's about how you carry yourself. Most men in the friend zone don't realize that their biggest weakness is their availability. Emotionally, physically, mentally. They are always there. Always ready to help, always ready to talk, always waiting. And what you don't realize is the more available you are to her when she hasn't chosen you, the more she learns to see you as the safety net, not the spark. That's why the one move that flips this entire dynamic is not to confess your feelings, not to buy her gifts, not to prove your loyalty, but to step back, to disappear for a while, not ghosting, not sulking. Just removing your energy from her world, pulling it inward, giving it back to yourself, because the moment you stop showing up for her in ways that she didn't earn, the entire energy shifts. You become a man again. Not a service provider, not her emotional tissue, not the guy who she turns to when the one she really wants breaks her heart, but the man who respects himself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't recognize his value. And that move, when you do it from a place of true confidence, wakes something up in her. She'll start to feel the void. She'll notice your absence. She'll begin to question why it bothers her, because the attention she once took for granted is now gone. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop trying to win her over, you give her the space to wonder about you. You become the question mark, the mystery, the man she thought she had figured out but now realizes she didn't. That contrast, that silence, that calm detachment, it creates tension, sexual tension, emotional tension, the kind that makes her replay moments in her head, the kind that makes her wonder what she missed, the kind that makes her realize you were always more than just a friend. You just stopped waiting for her to see it. And when she feels that shift, when she realizes you're no longer orbiting her world, she either steps up or steps away. And either way, you win, because you're no longer stuck in limbo, waiting for validation. You've taken control of your energy. You've redirected it toward your growth, your confidence, your evolution. You start showing up in the world with sharper boundaries, with more focus, with more presence. And whether she circles back or not, other women start noticing, because that energy you once wasted trying to win her attention is now radiating from within. And it's magnetic, it's grounded, it's masculine. You're no longer chasing something. You've become someone, the kind of man women want to be around, not because you're trying, but because you've stopped trying. Because you finally realized that the real power wasn't in getting her to choose you. The power was in choosing yourself. Every time a woman friend zones a man, there's a hidden message behind it. She's not saying you're not valuable. She's saying she doesn't feel that pull toward you, and most men misinterpret this. They believe if they just prove their consistency, show how kind they are, listen to all her problems, and always be there for her, eventually she'll wake up and see them differently. But women don't get turned on by comfort. They get turned on by curiosity. When she knows exactly where you stand at all times, when she knows you'll always pick up her call, always drop what you're doing, always listen and never challenge her, you lose that edge. That unpredictability, that emotional contrast that makes a man stand out from a friend, because she doesn't want another emotional support system. She wants to feel something real. She wants that wave of masculine energy that disrupts her rhythm. She wants to look at you and feel unsure, even a little off balance. That's what creates intrigue. That's what activates attraction. And the moment you stop being emotionally predictable is the moment she starts to feel something shift. Because while you were busy proving your loyalty, you forgot to maintain your polarity, and attraction thrives in polarity. It thrives when a man has the audacity to say no, the strength to walk away, the presence to make her stop and feel. And here's the key move, the shift that flips everything. It's not aggression, it's not game playing, it's silence, not the kind that punishes, the kind that recenters. You no longer call her just to check in. You don't initiate long text convos about her day. You stop offering advice she didn't ask for. You remove the invisible emotional umbilical cord. You become distant, not cold, not rude, but unavailable. And that's when things start to move, not outside of her, but inside her. Now she's questioning why she hasn't heard from you. Now she's wondering what you're up to. Now she's thinking about how it used to feel so easy to reach you, and now it doesn't. And that disruption, that break in her emotional routine, is what makes you stand out again. Suddenly she's curious. Suddenly you're not the constant presence she once controlled. And that's when you start becoming attractive. Not because you said anything, but because your energy is no longer fixated on her. You've redirected it into your work, into your goals, into your body, into your self-respect, and without realizing it, she starts picking up on it. Because a man who's emotionally unavailable to one woman becomes visible to many others, you start showing up different, sharper, quieter, more powerful. You're not explaining your worth. You're embodying it. And the woman who friend-zoned you, now she's the one evaluating. Now she's the one replaying moments, wondering what she missed, wondering if she read you wrong, because you shifted the story. You stopped being the predictable character. You became the plot twist, the man she overlooked and now can't ignore, not because you changed who you were, but because you removed the parts of you she took for granted. The space you created started working for you. And whether she acts on it or not, she feels it, that tension, that absence, that quiet confidence, and in that energy you become a new man, not the guy trying to earn her love. But the man who's become so aligned with his own power, she now has to catch up to you asterisk. A lot of men don't understand what actually happens when a woman friend zones them. They think it's a fixed status, like a dead end. But what it really is her way of saying, I don't feel the masculine edge from you that stirs desire. Not yet, and the problem begins when you start adapting to that label, when you start settling into the role she's handed you. You become more accommodating, more available. You shrink your masculine presence just to remain close. You suppress your intentions, thinking if you just stay in her life long enough, she'll eventually see how amazing you are. But what you don't realize is that every time you hide your desire and act like you're okay being just her friend, you kill the very energy that would have made her want you in the first place, because attraction doesn't live in neutrality. It thrives in tension, in the unknown, in the moments when a woman isn't sure if she has you figured out or not. When a man pulls away from the friend zone, not in bitterness, but in complete power, he reclaims the one thing she didn't feel, his polarity. And here's what's fascinating. The more you lean back, the more she leans in, not out of guilt, not because she feels bad, but because women feel energy. She can sense when your emotional availability is no longer hers for the taking. When your attention isn't freely given, when you're not dropping everything to be there for her anymore, and that gap you create, it stirs something deep in her subconscious, it triggers a shift, a curiosity. Attention, and in that space, she starts wondering what changed. She starts wondering who you've become. She notices your silence. She pays attention to your distance, because it's no longer predictable. You're no longer offering emotional safety without effort. You're not seeking permission to be a man around her. You're just being one, confident, centered, focused, and when you make that internal shift, your external world reflects it. Your body language changes, your voice slows down, your eye contact deepens, you stop chasing and start radiating, and she can feel that difference. Suddenly, you're not the guy she can call at midnight to talk about another man. You're the man she's now thinking about at midnight, wondering where you are, who you're with, if she misread you, if she missed her shot. This is not manipulation. This is alignment. When a man chooses to stop performing for a woman's attention and instead pours that energy into himself, he becomes magnetic. He starts walking with a quiet confidence. He starts commanding respect without ever asking for it. And slowly the dynamic reverses. She starts reaching out more. She compliments you in ways she never did before. She becomes more playful, more curious, more reactive to your presence. And it's not because you said something clever or did something drastic. It's because you stopped trying to be chosen, you became the chooser, you stopped seeking validation, you started embodying value, and that energy, that shift, is what pulls her in. She may not even understand why she suddenly feels different around you. Why her body reacts when you speak, why her eyes linger longer, but the truth is she feels your absence and your power in the same breath, and that's how the friend zone dissolves, not because you begged to get out of it, but because you evolved beyond it. You became someone she never expected, someone she now has to look at through a different lens, because the boy she put in the friend zone no longer exists. What stands in front of her now is a man with presence, a man with standards, a man who stopped waiting and started leading, a man who doesn't ask for permission to be desired. He simply becomes the desire, so now the question isn't, how do I get out of the friend zone? The real question is, asterisk, am I ready to become the kind of man who never belongs there in the first place? Because once you step into that energy, she won't just notice you, she'll crave you.